So my opponent says that the U.S. is not winning the war in Afghanistan, and I completely agree with this, which is one of the reasons why we need to withdraw. Obama's commanders are reportedly telling him that the war is not going well, as he said, and General McChrystal's own assessment, who's the general leading Afghan troops a year ago, they've switched now, but the Taliban control between 60 and 70% of the country. But on the other hand, there's no clear, defined winnable aim in Afghanistan. So if we stay there, it's going to go on forever. Twice the British attempted to rule over Afghanistan since the 19th century, and twice they failed. The Soviet Union invaded in December 1979, only to retreat in utter defeat 9 years later after losing 15,000 soldiers. This is why our plan, as the negative side, is to help train local troops and give them a way to defend themselves. As General David Petraeus said, the head of the U.S. Central Command, has long been saying that success in Afghanistan has to involve, to some extent, striking a deal with the enemies. This is how you end these kind of conflicts. There is, he added, no alternative to reconciliation. Petraeus understands this sort of enterprise, as he demonstrated in 2003 in Mosul as commander of the 101st Airborne Division, and in 2007 with the Sunni Awakening as commander of all U.S. forces in Iraq. So, the affirmative side is suggesting that once the United States withdraws from Afghanistan, that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are going to attack the civilians, because that's all we could do. That's really all we're worried about now in Afghanistan. But the motion that American retreat would open Afghanistan back to Al-Qaeda camps is a bogus argument, considering that Al-Qaeda is operating effectively in Pakistan, a nuclear power and an American ally. It's also a bogus argument because Al-Qaeda could choose to operate in a number of wretchedly unstable countries like Afghanistan, including Somalia, Yemen, and Sudan. It does not do so because it does not have popular support. Nor would it enjoy that support in Afghanistan, where the Taliban would not likely play host to Al-Qaeda and fall prey to B-52 bombings and missile strikes all over again. So, in order to get enough people to defend themselves, there are plenty of people in Afghanistan, they just don't have the resources as it is. So, Amir Madani, a political analyst, has the source says that the Taliban themselves are a combination of various, even competing groups. So inside the Taliban, there are groups that could possibly have arguments. So if the U.S., like Petraeus said, could strike a deal with those type of people, then we could get them fighting each other. And also, the Tajiks, Uzbeks, Aymak, and other anti-Taliban ethnicities make up 60% of the Afghan population. Contrary to common belief, not all proud Pashtuns feel that they represent the Taliban. There are many anti-Taliban groups among the Pashtuns too. In short, the Taliban do not represent the majority of the population in Afghanistan. So as Americans, all we need to do is get these people to fight, and they can defend themselves, and we can leave. Because if we stay there forever, then nothing's going to happen. There's no winnable aim there. And so we don't believe that Afghanistan is ever going to have a stable government, but they have Afghanistan's traditions of a weak ruling center and a strong periphery. So our plan involves getting local forces from all around Afghanistan to help fight and keep the Taliban out of their inroads. And by doing that, we can help let them defend themselves, and the U.S. can get at it. There's no longer, the first post had made a, that's my source. They say there's no longer the opportunity that there was in 2002 and 2003 to build a stable democracy. Overtures have already been made to moderate factions of the Taliban and a power-sharing agreement. The West should focus its energies on devising a diplomatic solution rather than an achievable military victory, which is what we're doing. Same thing we said, President Karzai has proved a weak ruler far too tolerant of corruption in his narco state. In order to ensure stable government in Afghanistan, the U.S. would have to stay there forever, and it's not even our war to fight. Mikhail Gorbachev, the last head of state in the Soviet Union and the one who planned the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Afghanistan, has simply argued victory is impossible in Afghanistan. Obama is right to pull the troops out no matter how difficult it will be. It's absurd to continue to destroy lives and resources. Al-Qaeda was expelled from Afghanistan in 2001. The U.S. should not be involved in a nation building while battling what is essentially a civil war between the Taliban's Pashtun-dominated militants and other minorities in Afghanistan. So, since people believe, the affirmative side believes that since the U.S. went into the war, that we have a commitment to the Afghan people, but we only have, our commitment is only as long until we have achieved the goals that we set when we went in. And Obama's goal for Afghanistan is to deny Al-Qaeda a safe haven in Afghanistan, which is done, and to reverse the Taliban's momentum and then deny it the ability to overthrow the government, which we're in the process of doing now. The U.S. is fulfilling our commitment by staying in Afghanistan and helping them create their own security to combat terrorism. The war the U.S. is fighting now in Afghanistan is not succeeding and is not worth waging in this way. The time has come to scale back U.S. objectives and sharply reduce U.S. involvement on the ground. Afghanistan is claiming too many American lives, requiring too much attention, and absorbing too many resources. The sooner we accept Afghanistan as less a problem to be fixed than a situation to be managed, the better. The United States will be providing arms training to local Afghan leaders across the country who reject Al-Qaeda and who do not seek to undermine Pakistan. Leaders of non-Pashtun minorities would receive military aid and training. It's not like we are going to completely give up on the Afghan people once we leave either. Under this scenario, the Taliban would likely return to positions of power in a good many parts of the South. The Taliban would know, however, that they would be challenged by U.S. air power and special forces if they attacked non-Pashtun areas, if they allowed areas under control to be used to supply anti-government forces in Pakistan, or if they worked in any way with Al-Qaeda.